one thing I often hear, this is a myth from people, and they say that
Mm,
people change, or like kids make you more warmer, more attached to things. I've
yeah.
seen some cases of it where that is the case, but also seen other cases where you're the same prick I knew before. But
Made you bigger, come.
no, but you're
I mean, it does give you a bigger cunt, I think. Yeah. You know,
oh, I can imagine.
the amount of
Oh,
blood
yeah.
that comes out, the amount of organs that spill out.
Oh, so it is definitely
You're going to make a big opening. Yeah.
yeah. Now that you've also got kids, and like you sort of came back into comedy after, how did it sort of change you as a comedian when you approach comedy? You mentioned it a bit earlier in the podcast, but
Yeah.
how did that change you in terms of when you be a sign language interpreter, be a
Mm.
comedian, but also like in your general interactions with people?
It does change. It does change you massively, I think. And there's many ways it changes you. Um, One interesting one is I think before having kids, I, as a woman, possibly brainwashed by the patriarchy, I always sort of believed I had to be sexy and I would play on that. I'd play on being sexy. And then I had kids and I was like, I'm not wearing a short skirt. I just because well, A, because I'm more prone to pissing myself these days if I jump up and down. And I'm a high energy act. So that's a real risk. Um, so I suddenly felt no pressure to be sexy at all because I'm a mother now, so it's not necessary. In a way, that's sad because actually, it's quite fun, but it's actually also quite liberating because you're just like just a mother. Um, so you can just be that, and you don't have to be attractive. I never had to be attractive before, but there was probably this weird patriarchal brainwashing that was like, oh, you must be attractive, you must do this and play that card, which I think I did in like my late 20s and early 30s. But then having kids changed that. I do think it possibly does make you warmer because you're more relatable. Suddenly you can relate to loads of audience members. And that's why gigs that are like full of real punters, being a parent, I think is great because you can really relate to those people. But gigs where it's mostly other comics, no, that isn't going to make you any more relatable because they're mostly not parents. I think it also made me more vulnerable, actually. It's weird because it's made me more powerful and more vulnerable at the same time. So before I would do a gig and walk home, whatever, not care. I was just like, whatever, I'm indestructible. But I remember when Kian was a baby, I did like only a couple of gigs in my maternity leave, one of which being yours with him in a sling at 8 weeks. That was
Oh yeah.
bonkers. Oh, I remember that night. Anyway, yeah, I did a gig where it was in the middle of nowhere and I left the venue and I was like, I'm getting in a cab. I just didn't want to do this walk along alleyways and stuff to get to the station because I think I just felt a little more scared because I was not that I was worth more, but like I was breastfeeding and just thought, no, I'm not risking it. I'm just not risking it. So it's definitely changed me in that respect. Um, and it's changed me in terms of comedy. I have to be more selective about the gigs I do. I don't have time to do bad gigs. So I really just want to do good gigs and I want to do gigs that make me happy. Because I think, yes, you've got to get better and you've got to progress and you've got to die and you've got to do the bad gigs, but I think you've also got to enjoy yourself at the same time. So I don't have enough time, energy, or headspace to be like gigging every night. And I would rather put lots into one gig a week than spread myself too thin, 5 gigs, if that makes sense.